I think as the game goes professional in the 1890s, you really start to see Rangers then coming to the fore. Again, even the League Championship success against Dumbarton when they share the honours with Dumbarton, first ever and only playoff match for the league title for the top flight in Scotland. That kind of shows you that even by 1891, Rangers are already at the forefront of the Scottish game.
At that time, because league football was still very much in its infancy, the Scottish Cup was considered to be the premier tournament.
We need to remember that for 2 decades almost, it was the only national football tournament. It was the one that everyone aspired to win right from the beginnings of football in Scotland.
The route to the final was probably in keeping with the standard of the teams to some extent. Cowlairs, they played in the first round and defeated them, then they met Leith Athletic, and then in the next round they played Clyde in the quarter-final, and then took them into a semi-final with Queen's Park, who were their old foes.
They marched to the semi-finals quite easily, where they drew Queen's Park, who were the cup holders, and still regarded really as probably the biggest club in the country. Rangers were drawn at home, and they drew 1 each, and most people thought they had blown their chance of beating Queen's Park by not winning at home. But they then went to the first Hampden and got to the final against Celtic.
Celtic had been founded in 1888 versus Rangers obviously founded in 1872, so Celtic were less than 10 years old at the time. But given that Celtic were starting to challenge for honours, and Rangers were obviously pushing for honours as well, then the rivalry was certainly developing, but it would be in its infancy at that time.
Most of the reports that have survived of the game talk about the great scenes of rejoicing at the goals going in, and especially at the final whistle when there was players were getting carried about on people's shoulders and things like that.
As things happened at that time, the cup was not presented on the field. The cup was normally presented at a venue away from the ground in Bath Street, 148 Bath Street. The dignitaries of the club, the directors and members of both sides, in fact, of the SFA and other people, went along to have this formal presentation from the SFA president to the Rangers president. In this particular case, it was actually handed to Baillie John Ure Primrose. He was not the president at that time, but he was offered the opportunity to lift the trophy. Eventually he would become chairman of the club. He received the trophy on the behalf. There was then an exchange of speeches, you know, all patting each other on the back, talking about how well they played, etc, etc. That was the way of things in these days. But of course, away from all that, in the pubs of Glasgow, and particularly in Govan, there was a lot of revelry, a lot of people enjoying the moment. And it was also said that Govan was drank dry that particular day.
It was the first time Rangers could say they had won the national trophy, the biggest trophy in the country as it was then.
Given it was the first Scottish Cup win, given that the status or the prestige associated with the Scottish Cup, I think it was hugely significant. And you could probably argue that the significance of that win was such that it probably laid the foundation for the success that the club has enjoyed since then.